Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to learn how to make a Google slide and how we're going to take our Cornell notes and apply them to our Google slide. So the first part of this project that you already completed was you selected a TED Talk that is in English and that lasts a minimum of 15 minutes. So the TED Talk that I selected for my project is The Surprising Habits of Original Thinkers by Adam Grant. It's from a 2016 TED Talk, and it is a little over 15 minutes. I'll play just a clip for you.
7 years ago, a student came to me and asked me to invest in his company. He said, I'm working with 3 friends, and we're going to try to disrupt an industry by selling stuff online.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I watched this entire video, and as I watched it, I took Cornell notes. I'm going to show you that next. Here are my Cornell notes. For the 15-minute video, it was about 2 pages of Cornell notes for 15 minutes. I have the title on top. I have abundant notes and details on the right, definitions, ideas, dates, facts. After I watched the whole video and I took all of my notes on the right side, then I reread my notes on the right and I pulled over key ideas, keywords, questions, just major concept, major ideas. I moved them over to the left side. That's what you see here. After I wrote my key ideas and key concepts on the left, then I went to the bottom of the Cornell notes and I wrote my summary, which of course in the first sentence, I included the title of the video, the source or the speaker, and the topic. And in the following 3 to 5 sentences, I wrote some of the key ideas that I took from the left side in the same order they were presented in the video. Okay, great. Now that I have my Cornell notes here, I'm going to use these to create my Google slide. So to create a Google slide, I'm going to go back into my internet browser, and I use Chrome. I'll go into my Southwestern College account. And you'll see here on the right that I have access to G Suite apps, Google Suite apps. So I'll click there and select Slides. Yeah, over here to the right, Google Slides, not Google Sheets, Google Slides. I'll pick that. And you want to make sure that you're logged into your Southwestern College account, of course, to do this. And then you'll see some templates here, and you'll see a blank template here. So you can experiment with these different templates if you like. I'm just going to go ahead and click New Presentation by clicking on the plus. And inside of this Google slide, you are able to type information such as the title, Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator, which we watched before in class. And you can put a subtitle, your name, ESL39D, the date, we'll just put spring 2020, and your professor's name, so Professor Figueroa. Okay, there's our title slide. And then in order to create other slides, you can do this a variety of ways. I usually just do slide, new slide, or duplicate slide if I want to. So I'll just put in a new slide. Okay, and then here I can click in some other information. I'm just going to put in some random letters, and I can also put information in here as well. So there's some things I want to show you. You can change the size of the font in these on the title of every slide. So you could increase it to whatever you want. You could do the same with the letters in the slides, the body content of the slides. You could also change the color of your text. Right now, right here, you can see this is gray. I like to keep it black just so the contrast is stronger. It's easier to see. In addition, if I want to use bullet points, I can use this bullet point option on top. Or if I instead wanted to number, instead of actually typing in or writing in the numbers, I'm actually going to just select this number icon option here, and it will format it for me automatically. Okay, so I am going to show you one more thing, how to insert a picture. So let's say I wanted to insert a image. I could go up here to Insert, click on Image, select an image, search from the web, unless you already have an image on your desktop that you want to use, but you can search from the web. And if we wanted to procrastinate or find an image that has to do with procrastinator, I could put that in here and I could see what comes up. And, you know, I don't really love these pictures, so I'll put a different keyword. Maybe I'll put in Tim Urban, see if anything comes up for him. That's the wrong Tim Urban, so maybe I will do something like time, because time and procrastination are very highly linked. So I like this picture of the clock or this picture, so I'm just going to take this and drag it in. And as you can see, it's going to be a really large image that's blocking my text. So what I want to do is I want to come to one of the corners. It doesn't matter which corner. Come to any corner of the image. I typically work from the bottom right for some reason. And I just resize it. And then I can click and pull it down. And then I can resize it again from the bottom corner, and I can move it around and say, yeah, I like where that fits. And if this text box, I want to move it, I can click when I see like this like little cross, and I can pull that down as well. So I can move my text, I can move my images. One thing that I want you to be careful about is do not resize your image from the sides. Because let me show you what happens. Okay, do you see that? How it doesn't look clear anymore? It looks warped. Looks strange. Same thing over here. If I do it this way, it again looks warped. So I want to just make sure that I'm resizing from the corner. Okay, now let me show you my, my Google slide that I already worked on before making this video. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. Okay, so on this first slide, this is going to be the title slide. I want you to write the title of your TED Talk on top. Then I want you to include your name, your ESL class, your semester and year, or the date is fine, and the name of your professor. Okay, that will be very clear to the people that you're presenting who you are and what class you're in and what the topic of your talk is on. So that's a great title slide. That's all you need. The only thing I might want to do is, personally, I like to, like I said, I like all my text to be in a black because of the contrast. So I'm going to click up here on the more, the ... and I'm going to make that black. And as you can see, I decided to go with a larger font here on top. It's 42, and the font below is 28. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but it is good to have the title larger. Your next slide. So your next slide is going to be an overview. So an overview is just kind of like, what are the things that the audience should expect in your presentation? So you're going to talk about 3 things in the presentation. And I actually just found an error in my slide, so we'll fix it together. So again, at the top, you can still write the title. For your numbers 1, 2, and 3, remember that I taught you that you can select the numbers from the numbered list. Don't type in the numbers. Actually use this automatically numbered list. Click on it for the numbers. Okay? So write these words exactly as they are, right? Source, content, and not reason. I'm going to change that to reflection, because everyone in the class is going to share these 3 things in their presentation. Okay? And finally, I want you to select an image that corresponds to the topic. So I chose this light bulb, and I did that again by going to Insert, Image, Search from the web. I wrote in the word creativity. Oops, I don't want a quote, I just want creativity. And then I have all these great images. So there's a light bulb, there's creativity with pens and markers and crayons. I could put in other words if I wanted to, like I could put in thinker. I could, get different images that represent people thinking. I like this image though, so I'm going to keep it here. And I did experiment with the sizing of it as well, so I made it a little bit smaller, I made it bigger, and then I finally decided on having something kind of the medium side. Okay, so the next slide is going to be the source slide. Okay, so this source slide, notice how I'm being consistent in the sizing of the title on every slide. So here, my title is 35. The font size is 35. And then if I go here, again, here I should see 35. Okay. Probably want to make these like a little smaller. I made it 34, but maybe I'll make it just like maybe 1 or 2. Yeah, I'll make it 32. So I'll make the font within the body of the slides slightly smaller than the title. Okay. Now I'll make sure to be consistent throughout. Okay, so on this source slide, you can write source on top just like I did, and then I want you to write 3 things. The name of the speaker, first and last name, make sure you capitalize. TED Talk, because that is the source, that's where it's coming from, and the date. If you don't have a specific date and you just have a year or a month in a year, that's fine as well. And again, some kind of image that relates or corresponds to the topic. Okay. Then the next slide after that is going to be the content slide. Now actually, on a 15-minute TED Talk, you're probably going to have more than 1 content slide. I have 3, but I want you to make sure that you do not write complete sentences in these content slides. Okay? These content slides should really be representative of the information that's on the left side of the Cornell notes. There may be some things from the right side too. That is fine. But I want it to be mostly like organized in the way that the video is organized, in the same order. Like if the speaker first talks about the company, his student's company, then you want to talk about his student's company. If the speaker first talks about some creative musicians from the past, then you want to write that first. So in my video, the speaker spoke about how his students were developing a company. And so I'm going to put that first in my Cornell notes. And I'm going to use just no periods, no punctuation, There is not subject, verb, complete idea. It's just points, important information. Okay, so I have here content. You can write content, or you can write what the talk was about. Okay, either way is fine. Okay, so I have here, Grant mistrusted some young innovators and entrepreneurs. Now, yes, it's true. This has a subject, a verb, and a complete idea. But I can shorten this. Let's see how I can do that. I could just say mistrust of I can keep it short like that, because really when I give my talk, that is just going to give me a clue about what I'm supposed to talk about. And that right there is enough for me to remember the story of how Adam Grant was approached by some students who wanted him to be an investor in the company. And he was interested, but then he saw that they didn't, that they hadn't done a lot, that they had ideas, but they hadn't made a lot of progress. And so there's a lot that I can say, but I don't want to write down everything I can say. I just want to write down like a point, a fact that then I could later talk about during my presentation. I'm noticing that there's some gray and black, so I'm going to fix the colors again. Yeah. Looks good. Okay. And I also bolded some of these words that I really want to talk about. So I just used the B here for bold. Okay. So I have an original, a precrastinator, which is different than a procrastinator. My next, in every content slide, I'm also including an image. And there's a reason that I'm including glasses here. It's because the company that Grant's students wanted him to invest in was an eyeglass company. So that's why I included this image of glasses, which I will talk about in my presentation. Next slide. It's another content slide for me. So like I said, I have 3 of them. And again, my content slide has content for what the talk was about. It has some important points. And I might just want to be consistent in my capitalization. So I'll just do that. Highest levels of creativity. I can move my text box. Again, when I first started this, there was no Mona Lisa here, right? So she was out, and the text box was really big. And so I decided, I thought, well, I kind of want the information to be on one side, and I want it to fit nicely on the page. So here it fits nicely. Then I wanted an image of the Mona Lisa because the speaker talks about Da Vinci and the length of time it took him to complete the Mona Lisa. So I'm going to talk about that when I give my presentation. So I moved the Mona Lisa in here, but the image is too big. I don't like how it's cutting off the title. You see how it's like kind of cutting that off? So I'm going to make this smaller and pull it down. Maybe a little smaller and pull it down. Yeah, I like that. A tiny bit smaller. Yeah, so it lines up. Okay, so when I first showed you this, the text was on the left, the image was on the right, and now the image is on the left, the text is on the right. It doesn't matter. This is like, you can be creative. What you want to avoid, though, is you don't want to have a messy layout. You want it to be easy on the eyes, easy to read, easy if somebody, maybe wears glasses and you want to make sure they're really seeing the text. And another thing you want to avoid, that, like I mentioned before, is you want to avoid having like some kind of warped looking image where it just kind of like looks weird, the size of it, right? Something like, What's wrong with this Mona Lisa? You know, you don't want to start pulling the image from the sides and then elongating it. Just make sure that you modify the image from the corner. By the way, what I just did to go backwards, so I could go back to what I had before if I make a mistake. Like, let's say I, accidentally make a mistake with the image and it looks really weird. Okay, I can press Command Z. Or, let's see if there's something else I could do here. Format. Undo. Sorry, that took me so long to find because I usually just do Control Z, Control Z. But you can actually go to Edit and click Undo. Okay, so that's really nice. Like, let's say I'm writing and I accidentally, I don't know, type something weird and I move this over here and I go, oh no, what am I gonna do? So I could either do Control Z or I could do Edit, Undo, Edit, Undo, and then I'm back to my original. Okay. Also, a really great thing about Google Slides is it saves all your work automatically. So, so that's really wonderful. Here I have my title. I just clicked in this box and automatically it wrote the title, which was the first information on my first slide. Okay, so I have my my content slides. So I have this first one I showed you. I have the second one, and then I have my third content slide. Again, my third content slide, I can either call it content or I can copy and paste. That's Control C, and Control V for paste. I can put that in the title like that if I want. And I want to make sure that all the information in here is very, very brief and it is not incomplete sentences. Okay? So when you're done putting in the information, it's almost like kind of like index cards. They're going to help you for when you present this to our class. So make sure that they're words that will help trigger your memory. Okay? So that you could actively recall more information as you're talking and presenting your TED Talk. Okay, finally, I'm on the reflection slide, which is the last slide. The reflection slide is different because this is the one slide where I say, yes, go ahead and write complete sentences. So I want you to include, let's see, 4 things. Feelings, like how did you feel listening to this TED Talk? How did you feel learning about this new material? Personally, the talk that I watched, it's called The Surprising Habits of Original Thinkers. And it's really interesting because it talks, I don't want to tell you all about it because that will be another video, but it talks a lot about failure and how people who are very successful, in general, not always, but many times, they go through a lot of failure. And that it's a natural process of learning and growing and succeeding. So I really like that, that concept, that perspective, that idea that failure is a part of success and that it should be done. Even if the fear is natural, it's helpful and it makes your product or your work or your ideas even better. So that was my feeling. Then favorite. So what was your favorite part of the talk? So my favorite part was learning about some of the great artists that the speaker talked about and like some of the failures that they went through. I mentioned Da Vinci, and I'll talk to you more about that when I give my presentation. I'm going to change this to some great artists instead of some of the greatest. That's a little subjective. Some great artists and thinkers. Okay. Difficulties. So I want you to here explain what was the hardest part or what was the most difficult part of the TED Talk, or even of this whole project. It could also be the favorite part of the TED Talk or your favorite part of this whole project. So the difficulties for me was the speaker talked about surveys and experiments to test the creativity of individuals in different scenarios, and it wasn't super clear to me how these experiments worked. So I think that was kind of the point, the weak point for me in my understanding. Finally, questions. So here I just want you to write 1, 2, 3 questions that you've thought about as you watch this video. So write at least one question. My questions are, well, I'll tell you what my questions are when I give you my presentation, but I wrote 3 questions. Actually, I wrote 4. Okay, so again, the important parts of this Google slide are the title slide that has the main information, what the title of the TED Talk was and your personal information. Then we have the overview slide, which is a slide that talks about what you're going to see in this presentation: source, content, and reflection. And the source slide, again, is going to have the main components like who's speaking, where this talk is from, and when it was done. And the next couple of slides, for me it was 3, for you it might be 2, it might be 5, I'm not sure. But you want to have slides that include major concepts that you can elaborate on later. And as you notice, I'm using lots of like bullet points. Finally, the last slide is the reflection slide. I'm going to just be consistent here with my terminology. And in the reflection slide, you will write complete sentences. This is the only one where you will write complete sentences and complete questions. And you will talk about your feelings about the talk, your favorite part, the most challenging part, and questions. You don't have to answer your questions. They could just be questions like curiosities that you have. Okay, I think that's it. Let's see what else. It will save here automatically in your Google Slide and Google Drive under your account. So you don't have to do anything else. If you wanted to, you could download this to your computer. You can make it a PowerPoint presentation, which then you could add audio to, which is what I sometimes do. I think what I'm going to have you do is I think I'm going to have you put this Google slide on Canvas so that we could all be able to see your Google slides together. I'll talk to you more about that later. But this is the information that you need to create your Google slide, and that's what you're going to be working on this week. Okay? All right, thanks for your attention, and I will see you soon.